Yeah, so now we'll have our smart anthem on our screens, followed by the Saraswati one.
स्मार्ट का पद वीर पद, देश का पद जीत पद, प्रश्नों की तार से स्मार्ट का पद सजा, अन्याय को ना करके न्याय का प्रचार कर, देश पर प्रहार है, हार मत प्रहार कर, आज कर, आवाज कर, तांडव सा युद्ध कर, स्मार्ट का प्रचार कर।
स्मार्ट हमरारा, स्मार्ट हमरारा, स्मार्ट हमरारा, स्मार्ट हमरारा, स्मार्ट हमरारा, स्मार्ट हमरारा।
All nationalistic media join smart and make nation strong.
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला, या शुभ्र वस्त्रावृता, या वीणा वरदण्डमण्डितकरा, या श्वेत पद्मासना, या ब्रह्माच्युत शङ्कर प्रभृतिभिर्देवैः सदा वन्दिता, सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती, निःशेष जाड्यापहा।
Yeah, once again, I'm requesting everyone to please pin the window called event stream. You'll get a best viewing experience. Please do pin that. So now I invite Sri Raju ji, the advisor to SMART, to share a few words on the vision and mission of SMART.
Namaskar. Welcome to all the members, dignitaries, sponsors, and the founder of this organization. I'm here to talk about the vision and mission of SMART. If we roll back a few hundred years to approximately 1,000 years, Bharat or India as we are known now, we were a very rich country, wealthy, rich in culture. After several invasions that we have read, we all lost our wealth, and along with that, the pride in our culture and in our country. I was born in the late 50s, and in early 60s and 70s, as a young boy, I vividly remember scarcity everywhere. There was scarcity for rice, scarcity for milk, scarcity for food, scarcity for jobs. I would say we barely survived. In 80s, I saw some semblance of change. At least the white revolution, milk and food were not that much of a scarcity. And in 90s and 2000, we really saw the power of Indians emerging all over the world. I had an IT business and a BPO business in US and other parts of the world. IT industry, for those who remember the Chennai or Hyderabad or Bangalore or Mumbai or Noida of 1990s, it was non-existent. Today, at that time, there was no space available. Today, if you see in 2010 and 2015, we built ECR in Chennai, Hyderabad, then Electronic City, in Mumbai, several places. And for all practical purposes, we saw how IT industry flourished and provided so many jobs. For those of you who are techies, IBM mainframes dominated the IT world in the 70s and 80s. Today, we live in a distributed computing and architecture world. Google, Facebook, Twitter revolution has happened. Cable TV is slowly reducing its market share to smart TVs. Mobile phones, we now have close to 1 billion plus mobile phones in the country, and that is replacing the traditional news channels, newspapers, and magazines. The speed at which news travels today is unbelievable. I don't know the exact number, but I would guess $100 billion of advertisement is spent in outdoor and media marketing. And slowly these marketing spends are shifting to digital world. And when I say digital, it is not the TV media, it is the channel in which most of our members are putting their news and articles and their editorials there. We have 700. Each and every district, I'm sure, has a great history. And we have several challenges that are real even today. SMART was founded with a vision to help young entrepreneurs from every single district to become credible, high quality news source of authentic history and culture, source of what is happening with their complete understanding of the background of the people who live there, and a credible, a truthful story. As SMART stands, the R&T stands mainly for research and training. We will continue to support our members in providing credible information with our research and training them to provide information in a manner, authentic information, in a manner that their readers will be excited about. Mainstream media, in my opinion, and in SMART opinion, is not currently doing full justice. In 20 years, I see India as a 10 to 15 trillion dollar economy. I see a vibrant India where every district is going to be well represented and it becomes an economic power. Every SMART member having 2 to 3 million viewers and followers, and collectively, all of us bring back the pride of India in every Indian. Today, Indians are branded extremely well, and we want all of us to collectively brand India as a great country. Our mission is to empower all our members with research, training, and financial support to make them a trusted brand. I'm very, very confident that we will have 1 billion viewers, and each and every member of ours, their business, I don't want to call it business, their purpose and mission will be served, and we will all work collectively to create a brand that is very powerful for every member. With that said, I want to say that we all have a great future ahead of us, and let's all work diligently to get there. Namaskar.
Thank you, Rajuji, for thank you, Rajuji, for such a powerful speech. We shall achieve the feat, as you said, by working collectively. Now, let me introduce our speakers for the day. Shri Professor Dheeraj V. Sharma ji, Director of IIM Rohtak. Sir has He has taught and presented a lot of research at several educational institutions in North America, Europe, and Asia. He has over 150 articles published in most reputable international journals. He has authored 10 books in the domain of business management, leadership, global business, talent management, among others. And he has been ranked in the top 10 management researchers in India. Sharmaji serves as a director in IRCTC, a member on standing committee of UGC for specification of degrees, and he continues to serve as a consultant to the Ministry of Home Affairs, Defense Ministry, Youth Affairs and Sports, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Government of Delhi, Punjab, Gujarat and Jammu and Kashmir. We welcome you, sir. And the second speaker for the day is Srimati Swati Goyal Sharma. She's a senior editor at Swarajya, founder of Seva Nyaya Uttan Foundation, Gems of Bollywood, and she has a rich experience with leading print and digital publications. And our moderator today is Sri Muthuramanji. He is the co-founder of Swarajya and the director of Smart. So over to you, Dheeraj. The session is over to you now.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk at this very important forum. I'm grateful to you. The topic was primarily how media, films particularly, are reflecting and have an influence on our society at large, and how they present India, our heritage, the Hindu heritage particularly, to which this nation, which this nation cherishes. Let me share an example of how important this topic is. For the viewers who are listening and watching, does anybody know what is the estimated value of a movie called Star Wars? I'm quite sure that many of you would be perplexed by the value of the movie Star Wars. Star Wars as a movie became a movie series. Then there are video games associated with it. There is a whole culture and subculture, a subaltern culture associated with Star Wars. And people have estimated that the value of Star Wars movies is $70 billion. Now, to put you in context, $70 billion essentially would mean that it is larger than the GDP of a small country like Nepal. It is almost 1/3 of the GDP of a country like Pakistan. Just one movie and a series associated with that movie. Now, why am I bringing that in this context is because Star Wars as a movie has propagated a culture which stems and has biblical origin. It's very interesting that the quotes, the presentation, even the beginning of the movie has biblical origin. I can quote you numerous other examples in doing so. But at the same time, what have the Indian film industry done if you juxtapose them with the American film industry? We have done numerous studies, and I have compiled them all in the form of a book, my book, which I wrote for the first time, my 11th book, which is in Hindi, Filme and Sanskriti. So I chose to write in Hindi. I said, maybe I'll get a wider audience. There are numerous experiments we have done, and I'll quote you some. We took movies from 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and so on and so forth. So summarize, the temple has disappeared in our movies. The temple, which used to be a place where the protagonist would resolve some of the biggest dilemmas that he was confronting in his life in the movie, that temple has disappeared. Going to a temple is now a result of what is demonstrated as a low self-esteem issue. No hero goes to the temple. Just take the movies and think about the movies of the last 30 years. When did you see the protagonist of an Indian film movie, I'm talking Hindi film movies, going to a temple? Does not. It is a rarest of rare occasion when you would see. Then who goes to the temple? If you pick up the movies of last 20 to 25 years, the data itself will demonstrate the most crooked person in the movie would be the one who is praying. The most crooked person in the movie would be the one who would be doing an aarti. We have gone one step further. We have also analyzed the last names, which are popular last names across these decades of top movies of who they project to be. You would largely find that the political person who is corrupt to the hoot, downright corrupt, will always have a Brahmin last name, which would be a Pandey, Shuklaji, Sharmaji, so on and so forth. A corrupt industrialist will always be a Singhal Sahab, Singhal Sahab, Gupta Sahab, Mathur Sahab. A Sikh is always projected as somebody who's a buffoon, always projected largely. When I say always, I mean largely, I mean more than 90% of the time. A promiscuous woman will always be having an angelicized last name, Reena, Tina, Monica, so on and so forth. So what we've done in the process, we have deprecated the very strength of this nation, which is the core values to which we all hung. Now, this is really remote from what actually is happening. I've been part of educational institutions for decades now. This is all more than 2 decades I've been teaching. And I've noticed that our students are really not the ones which are presented in Bollywood movies, in Hindi movies. For a student of ours, it's a struggle. Parents try and encourage the children right from the grade 8 onwards to focus on studies and do something with themselves. I don't believe that they have a time ever to pick up their bags and latch onto a backpack and go in search of a Deepika Padukone who they are going to fall in love with and come back and say, hey, mom, I'm college nahi jaunga and I want to do something with my life, which is not going to college. So how is this happening? I don't know, but it is happening. Is there a systematic intervention that has taken place? Is there a clique which is behind it? I don't know. However, it is evident that over a period of time, this has resulted in significant impact in the self-esteem of Indians and Indian youth. Our students our youth no longer takes pride in who they are. They're in conflict with their self-identity. They are exhibiting low self-esteem. They are self-loathing. These are all demonstrated with sociological experiments that are contained in the book as well and some of my articles. Pre and post watching of a movie results in significant shift in attitudes and opinions of people. It has been demonstrated over and over again that movies continue to have a deep impact in how people think about themselves. So the Hindu identity, the Indian identity, the identity from which all of us belong, we have deep-rooted ideological, deep-rooted religious, deep-rooted cultural values, which I believe have been significantly impacted as a result of this onslaught of these movies for last 2 decades or more, particularly I would say 3 decades. So onslaught of this media diet. Now, because people are consuming this media diet, and many a times there is a myth of consumer sovereignty. You are not sovereign in your consumption of media diet. You're impelled to consume the media diet. Why? Because there are 14,000 screens in India which show movies. And when a big movie comes, they take up about 7,000 or 8,000 screens of those 14,000 screens, which means the media diet is not your sovereign consumption. The sovereignty in consumption of media diet is a myth. Consequently, you're impelled to consume that media diet. And now with the onslaught of the OTT platform, this has become a bigger challenge for us. I encourage more research thought in this domain, and I'm happy to take on more questions and see how things open up as we go along this panel. Thank you for allowing me to speak and start the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dheeraj Sharma. As in very wonderful analysis. I have read your research paper as well. I would request Swati Goyal Sharma, who has done equal amount of empirical research based on the fairly popular Gems of Bollywood Twitter handle. I would request Swati to share her thoughts, please.
Thank you, Muthu sir. And thank you, Mr. Sharma, for giving such a great introduction to this session. Okay, you talked about Star Wars and the billion-dollar franchisee it eventually turned out to be. I will just start by saying that we at Gems of Bollywood, Gems of Bollywood is I would say, quite a popular handle, Twitter account with about 135,000 followers. We firmly believe that the overall contribution of the Mumbai film industry is negative to the society and it has promoted a lot of social evils. And I mean, even if you say that, okay, it has also kind of promoted some reforms here and there, we are of firm belief that the overall, as I said, the contribution is negative. I'll start this talk by giving you 3 random examples from the Mumbai film industry, which we call Urdu Wood, and we are glad that the lingo has really picked up. And I'll come to it later why we call it that. You know, the hugely popular film Gangs of Wasipur. There's a scene in the movie in which a group of Hindu men who are listening to this song, Pag Ghungru Bandh Meera Nachi Thi, they're going in a car and they abduct a woman, and the woman is a Muslim woman. And later, the Muslim groups protest and they threaten violence, and after which the woman is returned. Do you know that the film, which is loosely based on real life incidents in Wasipur, actually reversed the religions of the perpetrators and the victims in this scene? Originally in Wasipur, it was a Hindu woman who was abducted by a group of Muslim men. And the scene, when it was recreated in the film, they reversed the religions. Let me cite another example. In 1999, there was this critically acclaimed film, Sangharsh, starring Preeti Zinta, Akshay Kumar. So the film is based on, in fact, it's a shameless plagiarism of Silence of the Lambs, the Hollywood movie. Though the director, Mahesh Bhatt, he denies the fact, but anybody who watches both the movies can clearly make out that it's a shameful, like a shameless plagiarism. So in the original film, the villain, Buffalo Bill is his name, he is showed as a pure psycho. But in this film, in Sangharsh, in the Hindi film, he becomes Lajja Shankar Pandey, who is a Hindu tantric and who is a worshipper of the goddess. In another film, in fact, it's a very recent film, Shady, which is a biopic on Tigress Avni, who was killed. In this film, the villain, in the real tale, the name of the villain, the hunter who killed her, is Asghar Ali Khan. In the film, it's changed to Ranjan. What's the name? It's a Hindu name. Okay, I'm forgetting the name. Yes, it's Ranjan Rajhans. In fact, the protagonist of the movie, that is the hero of the film, played by Vidya Balan. Originally the character is a Hindu, but in the film, she becomes Vidya Vincent. So these are not exceptions. In fact, this has been the norm in the Mumbai film industry. I and Sanjeev Nevar, who is also incidentally an alumnus of IIM, we started Gems of Bollywood exactly a year ago because we wanted to visually show to people what this film industry has really been serving you. Of course, people knew it. People could sense it. Like Mr. Dheeraj Sharma has done proper studies on it. But I would say a lot of people would say that yes, they can sense a pattern. But we wanted to visually show them because these visual evidence, they also hit them very hard. And we have been able to give more than 500 clips in this time. And this is we do our journalism, we do our social work, everything else, and in between this is a side work for us. And even then we have been able to give more than 500 clips that show the pattern is very obvious to people now. And I must also tell you that no less than Economist and the Dawn newspaper of Pakistan have written articles against our Twitter handle, and they have called it a right-wing propaganda, in fact, a right-wing war on secular Bollywood. But while doing this, they have not countered any of our findings or patterns that we have shown. They have not even countered us with any data, just that they have shown that this account has declared a war on Bollywood, which is secular in nature, which is secular because all its heroes are Khans. So it has to be secular. So see, the thing is, starting from 1960s, I mean, it could be before that also. In fact, Mother India came before that. But at least from 1960s, films made by this film industry has served as a propaganda tool for Islamists and communists. The early people recruited by this industry also came from these groups. I mean, you know, the communist groups and also the Islamist groups that posed as communist. Let me give an example. In 1978, there was an award-winning film called Ganga Ki Saugandh. The dialogue writer was Wajahat Mirza, and it was made by one Sultan Ahmad. Sultan Ahmad, let me first tell you in brief what the story was. So there is this village in which 3 crooks live. Amid a lot of other crooks, but they're basically a Pandit, a Thakur, and a Lala. And in the entire film, I mean, they are known by these titles only. So they are the biggest crooks. They're greedy. They are lecherous, and the Thakur is lecherous, and the Pandit is very greedy, and the Lala is basically he deals people. There is this Kallu Chamar. Pran plays this character. He is a very, like, he belongs to the Dalit community, always facing atrocities by these upper caste groups. But in the same film, there is a character called Khan Chacha, who is like the best thing in the film, in the world. So he's just, he doesn't believe in casteism, and he doesn't believe in untouchability. And in fact, there is a dialogue in which Rekha says, Khan Chacha kitne achhe hain. So you see, the dialogue writer is Wajahat Mirza and the filmmaker is Sultan Ahmad. Sultan Ahmad comes from a family of Maulanas. And this Wajahat Ali Mirza, after a few years, goes and settles in Pakistan. And till date, this film is considered as a classic produced by Bollywood and not as a Pakistani propaganda film that it really should be seen as. This Wajahat Ali Mirza, incidentally or not incidentally, also wrote dialogues for Mughal-e-Azam, which is a film glorifying Mughals. In fact, Babur is introduced in the film very proudly as Nasl-e-Taimur, the marauder, the Hindu marauder. And he was also the one who wrote dialogues for the film Mother India. Mother India was based on a novel written in 1920s by Catherine Mayo. And though it was supposed to be a commentary on casteism in India, it was panned by one of the biggest Dalit icons of India, who is B.R. Ambedkar. He called it a propaganda book because he called out the fact that the film only went after upper caste Hindus and did not call out similar casteism and social evils in other communities, and ended up glorifying them. I mean, they're glorifying the communities as some sort of antidote to the social evils present in the Hindu society. He criticized in his book, Pakistan and the Partition of India. So Wajahat Mirza does all this in Bollywood and then goes and settles in Pakistan. And till date, after so many years, we have not called it out. We consider them classics. We still show them on our OTT platforms. So see, the agenda set by these filmmakers back in the 60s, 50s, 70s, it is also sustained till date. I can go on and on about many examples. In fact, our entire work on Gems of Bollywood Twitter account is exactly that. We have produced a lot of clips starting from the 60s and 50s to a movie released like last week. So tell me, how is it that in 100 years of its existence, Bollywood has not produced even one film calling out evils in other societies and only gone after, in fact, in some of these cases, they are not even evils, but just imagined evils in the Hindu society. Now, one could also say that because the films cater to the majority, it's also very obvious that they will have a, that they will show basically the state or people in the Hindu society, the majority community. But tell me, how is it that this film, the superstar of this industry, then makes a film called Diwar, in which he refuses to go to the temple, but readily accepts a Billah number 786, which is gifted to him by a Muslim. And how is it that the film goes on to glorify that Billa number 786 so much that it sells that thing as some sort of a miracle, some sort of a against all sorts of problems, see, also, I mean, in all these years, we have been fed the Islamist lingo in the films, so much so that we now think that the God is Uparwala and there is a Jannat, and there is and whenever a hero is in a romantic movie, will always invoke Mola, or like it's always Allah, Mola, and Jannat and Uparwala. I mean, if you're telling us that the film, because it caters to the majority community, which is why it doesn't go into other areas, then how is it that this lingo dominates the Bollywood discourse and not the other way around? I mean, how, in fact, Sanskrit is lampooned in so many films, and Urdu is glorified so much so that in a Rishikesh Mukherjee film, what was that movie? Golmaal. So there is a character and he's looking into the mirror and he says, he speaks something in Hindi, then he realizes, no, the woman won't like it. Let me repeat the same thing as in Urdu. I think it's Ichha and Tamanna. That is the word. So basically, Bollywood, as I said, has been a tool for Islamists and communists for so many years. And I'm not just saying it, I have empirical proof. I have so many clips to prove it. And in fact, I've always, through our handle, have thrown a challenge to people that if you differ with us, then give us data. I mean, give us counter clips from the same industry, and we can produce 500, at least give us 50. But nobody has been able to done so far. And I will conclude this by saying that, as I said in the beginning, I feel that the overall contribution of the Mumbai film industry, that is the Urduwood, has been very negative. It has promoted stalking, molestations, and trapping women with false identities, pedophilia, glorifying alcohol, crimes, and it has insulted regional cultures, and it also created differences in the communities. That's what it has done. And yeah. So any more questions on it? We'll take.
Yeah. Thanks, Swati. As in, quite a body of work that you have done, and very well articulated here. Thank you. I'll just request participants to please post your questions in the chat window. In the meanwhile, I'll ask a few questions that have come up and a couple of my own as well. Professor Dheeraj Sharma, as in, do you think that the common lay audience are aware of this bias that is being fed to them?
Well, that's the sad part. You see, in the management domain, particularly in the marketing domain, we call these things subliminal stimuli. And many of these things are called product placements. These are widely used marketing tools to innate a response to a cue. So for instance, in the North American movies, they would have a bottle of a particular kind of drink in front of, and people would discuss it in a scene. All of these have very deep and profound impact. Unfortunately, the lay audience will never, and I'm sorry to state this, that it's not just a lay audience. I would go on to say that 95% of the people would not even understand that how we've lost a generation to all of this. Wow. So let me illustrate this with a very fine example. If we did a survey amongst students of IIMs, and we asked them as to their beliefs in a particular religious activity, just to understand, we took a view pre and post a particular movie. I don't want to name the movie. I think Srimati Swati ji has already named so many movies. A movie pre and post. You would be surprised that people are unable to discern that what diet has been fed to them and its psychological impact. But it has a very deep and profound impact. We don't treat our priests well. Why do we not treat our priests well? Because we believe for centuries we have been told that you can give 200 rupees or 100 rupees or 500 rupees to the priest. He will change the date. Change the date of the wedding. This has crept into the way we function today. I can tell you that these statistics are alarming, and the ordinary people are still not aware of the subliminal stimulus and the product placement in the movies, which has a deep and profound impact on their attitudes, opinions, and eventually behavior.
Thank you. My question to Swati Goyal Sharma, a few of the audience have also asked. So the part of the title is How to Stop. So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. So first of all, we, as an again at Gems of Bollywood, we firmly believe that the sort of entertainment that Urdu Wood has been serving you, it's so much trash that you should totally distance yourself from it. I mean, the propaganda they serve will be defeated, but I mean, it also
how practical it is. It is how practical it is. It's an entertainment, right?
See, first of all, so we are constantly calling out what Bollywood is doing, and how are we doing it is because okay, let me just start by saying that I, as a journalist, I mean, apart from Gems of Bollywood, the journalism work I do, I cover a lot of religious propaganda done by missionaries and dawa groups. Dawa literally means invitation to Islam, but this so-called invitation to Islam actually happens through fraud and even by crimes, and even cases of murder and rapes have come to light. Like the UP ATS has been cracking down on such groups. So Bollywood has been serving as a tool for these groups because it has gone, it's like over all these years, it's gone after one majority group, and it has never called out as I said, the evils in these groups. In fact, it's kind of glorifying these groups. So this is for everyone to see, because if we are looking at a society which is liberal, and a society that is liberal, which has freedom of speech and freedom of life, and also if we are anti-superstition, then we should constantly call out every superstition we come across, and not just in one community, because when you don't do it, you basically serve as a propaganda tool for the missionary, like the missionary and dawa groups, because then they step in and then they start. In fact, let me give you an example. All this propaganda against Murti Puja or against even cremation. This has been fed by Bollywood all these years. And I have talked to a lot of victims of these missionary and dawa groups who tell us that they constantly feed us with propaganda against what we do. First of all, like the biggest propaganda is against Murti Puja, like you worship stone. So just imagine, where has this propaganda really been pushed? It's being pushed by Bollywood. If you remember, right from 70s and to 80s and even till today, like the hero of the movie, and no less than Amitabh Bachchan or all these superstars, he would go to the temple and he would basically start raining abuses on the deity and saying that you are just pathar, tum pathar ho pathar, tumhare bas ka kuch bhi nahi. So this has started from there. In fact, the last clip in this we put out was last week. एक पंजाबी फिल्म है, लेकिन पॉपुलर फिल्म है. तो उस पंजाबी फिल्म का हीरो ये कह रहा है कि if you come into my life, then do I need to worship stones? This is exactly the line. I mean, I'm just translating the line as it is from Punjabi. So ये एक propaganda तब से रहा है. तो सबसे पहली बात, first of all, we should understand what's been fed to you, and they're literally paying into. You're basically being played by this dawa and missionary groups. First of all, and secondly, the film industry, because it serves you plagiarized stuff, it serves you substandard stuff, and the entertainment it serves is basically trash. So you should anyway distance from it. Like I have no Bollywood in my life at all. I don't watch movies except for when I have to find clips for my Twitter handle, or I mean, if we have a child in the family, my nephew, so we don't we discourage him from dancing on these songs or singing these songs, because in fact we instead give him some good poems from good literary works to memorize and to sing. So it's not very difficult if you decide that it's harmful in nature, like you decide to stay away from junk, like you decide to stay away from a harmful object. In the similar way, you should just decide that there will be no Bollywood in my life. And I'll just give you one more example. One of my friends, he has a daughter, 3-year-old daughter, and the school asked the girl to learn this song. This song for independence. I mean, it's a patriotic song from Bollywood. It's a new song. I don't remember. It's from Razi. So they said, please go home and memorize it, and also learn some actions, to it. But the family, they sent a word to the principal that we don't allow our children to sing any Bollywood song. So please, you have to change it. So the principal basically got annoyed, and he said, no, you have to. I mean, I can't change the rules for just one student. But because the family stood on its stand, and they firmly said that no, it's not allowed in our family. What to do? Then the principal allowed the girl to learn something else, and then they ended up teaching her Himadri string. I mean, I don't remember that poem by it's a very good Hindi poem. So the 3-year-old child learned that and narrated in the school. So if you decide, you can totally, remove it from your life.
Thanks, Swati. A couple of participants.
May I add to just?
Yes, sir. Please.
I think it's a gigantic task. I think it is not. It's very, very difficult to resist, because in India, in terms of entertainment, we have cricket, we have Bollywood, and there wouldn't be a single Indian. It's very difficult to find Indians in the cities, particularly, who have not been to a Bollywood film. So what do you do? Is the question. What do you do? So I think the first thing is that the Competition Commission of India needs to start allocating space to more independent movies. This dominance of few large groups of filmmakers who can give you, there has to be more egalitarianism, more sovereignty in the placement of media diet. That's one practical and applicable solution. And the second, I think, solution is that you also provide other alternatives. So I think there has to be a rejuvenation of stage plays and the Ram Leelas that we have, where there can be an alternative to entertainment other than movies. So those are my 2 points.
Thank you. A couple of participants have raised their hands. We don't have the facility to let the participants speak. Please post your questions on the chat window. Some interesting observations I could see from the participants, that it is not restricted only to Bollywood. There is someone has pointed out about Sandalwood, which is the Karnataka movie, which is equally burst. And I have personally experienced, as in Kollywood, which is the Tamil Nadu, this thing is equally hijacked by these elements. And interestingly, as in, I think Telugu still seem to be holding fort. As in, we could see some Indic rooted movies coming from that side as well. Okay, so is one of the questions is that is the mass awareness and say IMDb ratings of these movies, etc., will that be of any help to both?
Sure, I think people are looking at reviews all the time. I think that has also been a tool to elicit response from people. So, some really terrible movies, but which serve the agenda of these people. So first of all, I think we'll have to agree that there is an agenda, and I can share with you what is the agenda. I can speculate. I'm speculating.
Please.
So you see, there has been a rise of the regional film industry in the last 20 years. See, the Bhojpuri film industry has grown exponentially. Punjabi film industry has grown exponentially. The Andhra, Telugu film industry has grown exponentially. As a matter of fact, even Malayalam film industry and Tamil film industry has grown a lot. So overall, the space for the Bollywood movie has been shrinking. So Bollywood, I believe, is looking at the diaspora to make money. And the diaspora, where is the Hindi/Urdu? And I agree, Urdu speaking population, it's in our neighborhood and in the Middle East and in the UK and in the US. So I believe that they are doing this because there is a shrinking of the space for them and they want to make money. I think providing legitimate financing, I must tell you, many of you would not be aware that some of our really great war movies in India were actually sponsored by state governments. I believe, if I'm not wrong, Shaheed, which is a very old movie, which I think 162 was sponsored by Punjab government. I don't endorse that view that the government should start sponsoring, but all I'm saying is that banking finance should be made available and in a big way, so that they don't have to rely on these extra, I would say, outside nefarious elements for funding who can then push this agenda. And also they would not have to depend so much on the neighboring audience, I would say, to make the movies run. These are very, very important and very strategic steps. I think from a strategic standpoint, this is important. And that importance is, number one, financing. Number two, egalitarianism and equity in showcasing of the movies. And number three, I think that there has to be a greater scrutiny and sensitization, like Swati ji mentioned. I think sensitization of children is so important. They are young, malleable minds. And even before you realize, they've already built in, an inferiority complex and low self-esteem. They feel, I belong to a losing community, a community which had been badgered for 600 years by Islamic invaders, then 200 years by the Britishers. Who am I? I was born a loser. I mean, I can't be a winner. So this, I believe, has to be stopped. And I think we've got OTTs. I encourage young, people to come up, make movies. I mean, and not movies. Why make movies? I think make clips like Swati ji is doing. Make clips, make better movie clips. Have those 1 minute movies, 2 minutes. Why should a 3 hour entertainment be our staple diet? That 3 hours has now reduced to 1 hour and 50 minutes. I'm pretty confident that large number of people would now like to see, like T20, a half-hour movie which says the story. Why do I need to explicate? Why do I have the standard format? I mean, if newspapers have adapted, our way of life has adapted, movies will adapt. Why that 3 hour format, or why that 2 hour format? I'm sure, a 30-minute format or a 45-minute format, and that will allow more movies to be showcased. More talent will come out. More people will have their stories relayed. More money can be made by the entertainment industry. And this will also provide more egalitarian output. And I would say we'll have a more diverse media diet for people who wish to consume the media diet.
Excellent. Excellent. As in democratize the process of movie making and movie watching so that more people can produce content that people really want to see. One of the suggestions that has come up is confronting the movie makers on public platforms, calling them to talk shows where they are grilled on their subliminal messages. And as in sunlight is the best disinfectant, as in put them on the spot, expose them in more channels across. Particularly, this is a platform where each of the members have a fairly wide reach. So spreading the message to a common public that they are being indoctrinated subliminally will itself have a big impact. A few more questions. I think I have about 7 minutes to. Swati, you wanted to say something? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Actually, I wanted to make a point, and because Muthu sir, you started by saying that people are also complaining about similar or differing or slightly different propaganda served in Tollywood, in Telugu film industry, in Tamil film industry, or Kerala film industry, Malayalam film industry. So I just want to say that anybody who is ready to run similar handles for us, and we will provide you with a video editor as well, or some of our own experience in running such a Twitter account or any social media platform. Please write to us. We have in fact been looking for people who can run these. See, this Gems of Bollywood has been an experiment. In fact, I and Sanjeev never often call it a new form of journalism, where we are basically just saying whatever we want to say through these 1 minute or 1.5 minute of videos, and we give a 4-line caption, and that's about it. And people just see through the propaganda and the agenda serve. And we are really looking for people who can do it for other film industries as well. I would be very thankful.
Actually, there are a couple of requests, one from Kannada, one from Tamil. There's already a request from the participants.
We would love to
I'll
do
definitely,
it.
I'll definitely connect with you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sir, Professor Dheeraj, last question to you. As in, is there as in, we could rarely, we could really search to come across your research, and then the quality of research was so excellent that we thought we'll call you for this audience. Is there more body of work of research on this topic done by other academic institutions or other professors? Anything that you're aware of?
No, this is very sad that, I stumbled on this. I must tell you, I started work on this in 2015. It took me 6 years to come up with this book. Nobody, and I don't know why people are so reticent. And even when I was writing this book, I was told that you are target ho jaoge. My target ho chuka. It's okay. That's fine. He said, as an academic, you will get questioned on numerous things. People will question your credentials. People will question your research. People will question everything. I think people are really reluctant. And I think at the stage of career where I am, I simply don't care anymore. I think we have to call it out. There is unfortunately none, but I must tell you with great pride that 2 of my doctoral students here in my institution are actively participating in doing more work, particularly from a nationalist scenario. Let me illustrate that with one simple quantifiable number. What is the percentage of Bollywood movies which show an Indian flag in 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s? And what is the percentage of Hollywood movies which show an American flag correspondingly? The numbers are almost 4 times in the American movies. In American movies, by and large, more than 3/4 of the movies you would find an American flag. What is the impact of a flag? To study that, again, we do sociological experiments here. I again encourage, Swati ji has, inspired me to use this platform. If there are any students who have master's degree and have interest, we'd love to hire them as research associates and research assistants to come and work for us and help in doing this research and related research. So, Swati ji, आपने बड़ा अच्छा किया ये हमें भी प्रोत्साहन दे दिया. I look forward to doing that. But it is very sad कि इतने सालों से अगर आप American movies, if you pick up the American movies, there's a plethora of research. Plethora. There's one article, I'll share with you just one article on cartoon characters, and that too published by an American author of Indian origin. India mein on cartoons, on comic strips, there is no research. Just imagine the impact of the cartoons and comic strips on our youth.
Sir, can I say something?
They believe that everything happens in New York City, और हमारे यहाँ तो there are no superheroes.
But sir, आप ये भी देखिए कि sadly plagiarism इतना, I mean it kind of penetrated every field. For example, first of all, half the films are plagiarized, shamelessly plagiarized. If you really like a song from, let's say, the 50s or 60s or 70s or 90s, there are very high chances that if it's a good song, it's been plagiarized from some work from Europe, or I mean anywhere in the world, even from Arabian countries. And you see, even in academics, a lot of work is just, I mean, I'm not talking of premier institutes, but there's a very substandard quality of work generally produced in India, because the focus on quality and originality is not so much. And the biggest problem is that we don't look down,
right?
And we also don't look down upon plagiarism the way we should. I mean, I feel that if you have plagiarized an entire song, let's say, without crediting it and claiming it to be your work, you should be really discredited, and filmmakers should at least hesitate to work with you. Instead, what we see is that you end up making a great career, and you end up being invited on as a judge on talent shows, and nobody even questions, because plagiarism, we don't condemn these things, the way we should, the as a society, the way we should. For example, Anu Malik, I mean, I'm really shocked the way he appears on talent shows and gives gyan to young participants, and and how to make music and how to sing.
Swati ji, there are movies. आप देखिए कि India's most iconic movie Sholay.
Yes.
India's most iconic movie Sholay is lifted from Magnificent Seven and Seven Samurais.
Exactly.
It is so disheartening.
Frame by
that
frame
the
copy of
movie
scenes.
of the century is lifted. I agree with you.
I had one very interesting observation. That will be the last point. While Urdu would movies like this, the TV serials are exactly the opposite. Why is it so? It is a joint family. The hero is virtuous. All Indian festivals are celebrated. It takes multiple episodes to show even one every festival. Why is that? What is the dissonance between these two?
We are studying that as we speak, so I can speak for 20 seconds on that. We are studying television serials now. So because, I thought that iske upar research hote rehna chahiye. Television serials, unfortunately, have no audience amongst the youth of the country. Television serials have virtually no audience amongst the educated in India. Very small percentage of educated people. And when I say educated, I mean educated and professionally engaged, people who are at work, and there may be, BA, MA sitting at home, maybe. So youth, by and large, I would say anybody between the age group of 14 to 35, there is no audience for them on TV. So there is no impact. So they are producing what people want to watch. They want to see family conflicts, family disputes, deceit in the family. Occasionally, they do come up. So there was a television serial which came up a few years ago, about 6 or 7 years ago, which challenged the very roots of the family integrity in our society. It talked about a sister-in-law and a brother-in-law relationship. That television serial had they were having a relationship with the wife of his real brother, and resulting in a wedlock, a child out of a wedlock. So occasional challenges hue hain, but their success has been very limited, and therefore people want to, that audience is different. Uska impact nahi hai. See, educated audience, young audience, to really significantly impact the future of India, the thoughts of India, the Indian identity, the self-esteem of India is best served when you hard hit the Bollywood movies, because they are the ones which most of the people are watching. So a Salman Khan film like Bajrangi Bhaijaan is watched by almost the entire country. But what does the film show? The film shows the narrow mindset of all Indians. Indians are the ones who bring that child, and here's the beautiful part. Even in the national security, Indian side is fenced, Pakistani side is not fenced. But film mein kya dikha rahe hain? Pakistan side fenced, Indian side mein, the person gets into a tunnel, goes on the other side. Indian side is completely unguarded, full of incompetent people. Pakistani Rangers catch him and are so benevolent that they let him go. And the Pakistani Maulvi is actually saying Jai Shri Ram. I would love to meet those Pakistani Maulvis who are saying Jai Shri Ram.
Try doing that in Devband. Try getting Devband to say Jai Shri Ram.
I too would love to meet. It has been a fascinating discussion. I wish I could go on for another hour or so, but we already have the speakers for our next breakout sessions. Thank you very much, Professor Dheeraj Sharma. Very enlightening discussion, and we would like to continue to keep the dialogue going between SMART and you and your institution. Thanks, Swati, for obliging us once more and coming and giving wonderful insights.
Broadcasting System and its affiliated stations.
Always a star with stylish backpacks from Skybags. Built to last straps, 12 months international warranty and rain cover. Skybags.
I'm changing my mind.
Change to Tokyo.
Kinda like your kind.
Paris.
You have me at hey, 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 hey.
Hey. Hi.
Be back in May.
Cape Town.
You have me at hey, 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 hey.
Your passport, please.
उसे छोड़ो. तुम कहाँ से हो? Chase the world with stylish bags from Skybags.
मेरी बुक्स कहाँ हैं?
अरे मैंने सब लेबल किया हुआ है, वहां पे है। कुछ भी नहीं हुआ। बढ़िया चॉइस है यार तुम्हारी।
काफी स्ट्रॉन्ग है। लारा बाय बोरोसिल।